let's kind of put it very straight. It's the colonized versus the colonizers. I think that's the emotion of the match today. And it goes far beyond football. It goes not just today, yesterday, or even day before, not even 10 years back, 20 years back. It goes back at least a century. You know, when Portugal came in, when Spain came into Morocco and they took over the country, and literally even till 1956, when France had made a protectorate in Morocco. So the history goes back, and today, you know, when you see a surge in sport, when you see a small team going into a semi-final of such a championship, which is called the World Cup, then there is a surge of emotion, which is slightly or probably a little more than the football. I think what is happening in Morocco tonight is not just the World Cup. It's also about, you know, these were the people, or this was the country that was inside our country, ruling us. And today we are going to be playing virtually shoulder to shoulder, neck to neck against them. And if they win, now that is something that is in the realm of fantasy right now, you know, and honestly, it was before the World Cup. Nobody ever thought that Morocco is going to go so long or so deep into a World Cup. And even if you go deep into a World Cup, you're not facing any of the South American sides, you're not facing any of the Asian teams. You're facing a country which is virtually was your country, literally in that sense. Today, you have visa issues with France. They don't give visas to Moroccans to come and travel to France, you know. All of that is happening. The elite in Morocco today is actually sending children to French-speaking schools. You know, a kind of stuff that happens in India where, you know, the elite actually go to public school. I think that's the similar sentiment out there. But go past all of that. At the end of it, those 90 minutes are what football is all about. And if Morocco wins, then you have a very different melting pot in that country. It's going to go crazy. I think for them, it's virtually winning the World Cup. France is not just a foe. France is a foe that you need to conquer. Conquer in the mind, conquer physically, conquer emotionally, conquer psychologically. And today is a day probably every Moroccan worth their weight, worth their salt, or whatever you can call it. Kids, grown-ups, elderly, all are going to be sitting in front or in pubs or in front of television sets, families coming together, grandmothers, mothers, fathers, all of them coming together to probably see one match that the country has been waiting for so long, the Morocco versus the France game. That is going to be one emotional roller coaster. We see all of that. I mean, you see Indians in Australia, you see Pakistanis in Australia, you see Pakistanis, Indians in England when Indian cricket teams visit. It's not that they don't have the residencies or passports of England or Australia, but they kind of cheer their own flag. I think there's nothing wrong with that. You're not crossing any line. At the end of the day, your emotion is with a particular country because your parents, your forefathers came from there. You know, and probably in that sense, you look at the Moroccan team today, you have 14 players who were not born in Morocco. They were born elsewhere. Hakimi was born where? He was born in Spain. He plays in Real Madrid or played in Real Madrid, but today plays for PSG. I think that is the sentiment, that even though I was born in Europe, I was born in a well-to-do community. I was born in a country where I didn't really have to go through the grind that you go through in Morocco. I think that is the sentiment completely across France, where most Moroccans live, or even Moroccans in Belgium. I think there's a huge population of Moroccans across Europe. And today, all of them will probably celebrate not that they are in which country or which passport they hold, but that their blood is Moroccan. Yes, it's going to be a massive bearing. I mean, you go back to interviews of Hakimi that he gives to newspapers and over the media over the years. And every time he's been asked, you were born in Spain, you played for the biggest club in the world, in a way, Real Madrid. You play for such a big club, PSG. So why aren't you playing for Spain, or you playing for some other country? So he goes into this entire history of the bigotry that he has been exposed to, or the racism in a way that he has been exposed to. And he says that is the one reason why I still want to play for Morocco. Now that sentiment is just not one individual, one single person's sentiment. It is a sentiment that's carried across 14 players in this team who were not born in Morocco, but chose to play for Morocco, chose to have a passport which is Moroccan, chose not to take a passport from some other country and play for Europe, be counted as the elite footballers. But here they're counted as not elite footballers for the clubs definitely, but now, today fate has already decided that they are in the semis. They're going to be playing France. But I think in a way they already are elite, because it's so rare to see footballers go into a semi-final. It's so rare to see an African country, the first time ever playing a World Cup semi-final. So they already are in an elite group, and when they walk out on that field, I don't think it's something to do with, I'm going to beat France in that way. But I think it's more of, I'm going to give my best for Morocco, which is my country. Similarly, the French probably feel it, but I think Moroccans will probably feel it a little more, because this is such a huge stage for them. 110% intensity out there, whether it's MBAPPE or whether it's HAKIMI, because this is not about PSG, this is not about Real Madrid, Manchester United, nobody. I don't know if we all remember what happened between Croatia and Brazil. Casemiro, who does he go and hug after the match is over and Brazil has lost, He goes and hugs Modric because he's played with him in Real Madrid. He understands those emotions. I think during that 90 minutes, hopefully it doesn't go to extra time, and hopefully it really doesn't go to penalties, because it's tragic for two teams in a semi-final to be decided on penalty kicks. But whoever loses, whether it's MBAPPE or whether it's HAKIMI, I think in the end, that particular shot of these two players coming together, hugging each other, is going to be everlasting, because in the end, that's what remains. Your friendship remains. This remnants of countries which are born out of being colonized, they are there in your sense, they are in your mind. But at the end of the day, he's going to go back after a week and play for PSG. He's going to be playing alongside his friend called MBAPPE. MBAPPE is going to be playing alongside his friend called HAKIMI. So today is a great day for both of them. They do understand the emotions of it. So I think by the end of it, if it's a hug, it's fantastic for football, it's great for sport. When you really look at both the teams, you know that, Morocco has made its way through and through, all the way down, knowing that the world probably never thought they're going to be there in a semi-final. That could be a little overwhelming for Morocco. And you really cannot play defensive throughout 90 minutes against a side like France, because these are very pacey sides. They are not like Brazil, who kind of rely on skill, talent, all of that, those juggleries to, go in there. MBAPPE is a guy who sprints. He's largely a 100-meter runner with a ball at his feet. You have Griezmann, who's had a very bad club career in a way, because he's never won the Champions League or any of those big ones. He has a lot at stake in terms of taking France to a second World Cup title. And understand, France is gunning for becoming the first nation after Brazil, 58-62, to win back-to-back World Cups. That itself is huge.